Hey everybody! Sorry it took us a little bit of time, but welcome to today the first Global Comics Workshop. A Global Comics Workshop is just meant to be a great way for our members of our community and artists in the community to showcase knowledge and skill that they have about a certain topic and do so on our channel. Today I'm joined by two lovely people, Mickey and Jesse Page Dawson. Say hi, guys. uh, I need to make sure we can hear you a little better, Mickey. It's all good. Hello, Mickey. Yeah, that's a little better. I'll call you here. But anyway, yes, it's going to be a great time. We're going to be talking today about how to create black characters. This took us a long time to make, didn't it? Like, it was a big back and forth. A little. But I liked it. I think we've got some good stuff for people, and I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say. It's your time to teach me. If you're ready to go, I'm ready to go. Mickey. Okay. Seems like super important. Mm, okay. Hold on one second. One second. One second. Mickey, one sec. One sec, Mickey. Your audio didn't come through, but I got you. I got you. It's all good. It just didn't come
Okay.
through. Should be good now. Mickey.
Okay.
Yes. Can
Um,
we go back
and
to the top? Let's go back to the top. It's fine. It's
start over?
yeah, yeah. It's okay. We missed your audio.
Okay.
um,
All right. So I've already introduced myself. The first thing I want to talk about is style and how to apply Black features to your style. When thinking about Black features, we have to figure out what's necessary when drawing Black characters.
sweet.
In Scott McCloud's Understanding the Invisible Art book,
Mm-hmm.
he's drawn an example of a realistic to iconic style progression and talks about how your style can be abstracted. Iconic styles are minimal and lack detail, but they are still able to resemble the original subject. But what does this mean for drawing Black people? Once we learn what defining features make a Black person, we can apply those features to any style, no matter how simplistic.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Um, for this slide, I just wanted to give an example of an iconic to realism scale made up of Black people. Um, but I did use some traditional American, um,
Characters.
designs.
Mm.
And Americans have an upper hand with Blackness and have a fit. Um, uh,
So like.
But what if you aren't American, and what
Mm.
if your art style doesn't match the traditional American comic or cartoon style?
And then I guess we talk about
Anime
this.
characters um, are a great example of Black characters in the media that don't have much. Okay, so sorry.
It's okay. So
Here's an
like.
example of Black characters in the traditional manga style.
Yeah.
Um, the manga style typically lacks nose and lip details, so the character design relies on hair and skin tone to indicate that they are a Black person.
Mm.
Um, the lesson here is that Black people can be translated into any style. Even though Japan is a homogenous country with limited access to Black people, their culture practices, there are many manga artists that are able to draw Black people in a beautiful way.
Mm.
How are manga artists able to portray Black people in such an accurate manner? The answer is references. References are highly encouraged. A problem that the Black community has run into when speaking on Black characters within the media is the continual usage of hairstyles and outfit types. So when designing your Black characters, try and make them stand out. Experiment with color, hairstyles, and outfits. And please use references. A tip to consider, even if the reference is different from or doesn't use a Black hairstyle, you can still turn that reference into a Black hairstyle.
Okay.
Locks, passion twists, curly hair, braids, waves. There's all sorts of Black hairstyles that you can use. And we don't have to stick in the same range of styles.
Mickey, do you mind if I ask you a question real quick?
No, I do
not. So, like, you know, as you said, we can work with lots of different hairstyles for Black characters, but also we can draw their hair really straight. Is there like a norm? Is there like a way you typically would like build, like, you know, figure out whether your character should be using different hairstyles, or is just using straight hair like easier?
Honestly, I feel like maybe drawing straight hair is easier, but there are plenty of resources, like such as Clip Studio's whole marketplace that they have. There's a ton of Black hairstyles that you can get there that you can easily draw Black hairstyles with.
Okay.
Like there are plenty.
That's super helpful actually to know. So like these are like brushes, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, locks, twists. What else? There's so many Black hairstyles, braids. Yeah, please experiment with all sorts of Black hairstyles because they're fun and exciting.
They are. Okay. On this next slide, you've got like a bunch of detailed scale examples. Do you want to explain what's going on over here?
Yeah, so I basically like Frankensteined a reference sheet together. Everything that I wanted in my character, I just cut out the pieces and put them together.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I like to build my characters from all my references. And for this particular character, I started off doing a realistic to iconic style progression, just to see what all these features would look like together. And somehow I ended up making Yara Shahidi. I'm not sure how that happened, but you know, it's pretty cool.
While you were drawing this, you drew.
Yeah.
You told me who this was. She's like a celebrity or something.
Yeah, she's been in quite a few things. If you know Blackish or Grownish or something like that, then you should. You've seen her before.
Okay, that makes sense. And so, like, you use these references to kind of build the character that's being drawn on screen right now. Okay. And then you did like a few more of these as well with like differing levels of detail.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what she would look like in each style and how I could still make her look Black.
Unfortunately, the videos didn't come out super great on the stream, but we're giving it. The slides will be in the description so people can go look at them closer. But you did, I remember I've seen you do this, and you did work through kind of building your detail, even simplifying. And I think a key thing that was there was the hair and the skin tone, right?
Yeah. So when designing Black characters, if you don't have as many defining features that come with Black people, like such as straight hair, you can really emphasize more of the skin tone or the nose or or the lips. You know, you can rely more on the other features to indicate that they're a Black person,
Okay.
than, you know, just relying on hair, because that can be an issue where you just make a Black character and they are only looking Black because of their hair. So
Okay. So this is like a solution to the manga thing that you brought up about, you know, they don't usually have lots of certain features, so you exaggerate others essentially. So if you can't
yeah.
if you can't make them look, if your style is purposely trying to be really simple, exaggerate what you can to showcase what is like may not be as obvious.
hmm
Okay.
Yes, you would have to rely on the other features.
Okay.
Um,
No, that's really
but
interesting.
oh yeah. I think the best way to oh, can we go to the next slide?
Yeah, I'm on the next slide.
Oh, okay, sorry. Now I applied my reference to my own style, and as you can see, they look noticeably Black even without my color.
Yeah, our
Um,
videos are failing us today, so we're gonna have to
oh,
show just your art later. But
okay,
you do
that's fine.
this. You do this. I think there's a good
Yeah,
slide with that. It'll be
yeah,
in the color section.
yeah. I thought it was important to start off just talking about style, because even I feel like you shouldn't rely
Mm.
on just color to indicate that a person is Black.
Mm.
Um, there are plenty of other features that can indicate that. So knowing that your character is Black even without the color is a really good sign that you know how to draw Black people.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Okay.
Now we can talk about color. Um, I first want to talk about grayscale. If you draw comics in grayscale, mid-range gray can be used to color skin. The key to coloring grayscale is to match the gray's darkness level to the brown color that you want your character to be. If you compare the colored versions to their grayscale, you can see that they are in the same range of darkness. Juji from Witch Hat Atelier
Well, that's the girl
is
on the
a.
bottom.
Oh, could you say that
That's
again?
the girl on the bottom right there.
Yes. Is a perfect example of how to color deeper Black skin tones in grayscale while also still being able to keep their level of detail within the character design.
Okay. So like what you're saying is essentially, just so I'm understanding it, the way when she's in color, the lightness level essentially on her skin is the same as when she's in black and white. You're just using a gray that matches that light level or like that darkness
Yes.
level. Okay. And like I think that
Yeah, it's all about tone and the deepness level of your colors.
and this matches what you said earlier as well in this when you brought up that hair is also a big thing and like
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Because manga characters are are notorious for not really having a lot of detail, and so a lot of what they have to rely on is hair and skin tone.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm with you. And then this is
okay, so everyone's style is different. Here you can see this is my style. Um, but Black people can be translated into any style. My comic, Bruce Craft, is about witches who are in college and learning how to enhance their powers while also navigating their personal lives. In supernatural worlds, features can be abstracted, and as you can see in my comic, I like to exaggerate the hair and the eyes, and I like to make everything very bubbly and vibrant. When it comes to coloring Black characters, saturation is key. Most Black people have rich and deep skin tones, and using colors in the orange, yellow, and red browns are best when coloring in a realistic color palette. If your coloring style is skewed towards a specific hue, then adjustments should be made based off of that. When choosing colors for your Black characters, make sure that these skin tones match your coloring style in a way that doesn't wash them out. In Prue's craft, I have an overall orange tone, so most of my characters have skin tones within the orange color scale. Depending on the lighting, skin tones can brighten and darken and change hue based off the color of lighting used. Remember, the base color you choose can and will lighten when additional lighting is added. So please be sure to take that into consideration when choosing your flat colors.
Okay. So, like, would you say then that means your flats need to be like at least like a decent bit darker than you expect? Because when you finally do all your rendering and all your lighting, it's all gonna be
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Unless you don't use lighting, but if you do use lighting, then your characters will lighten up quite a bit.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then I have Black people in my style, the Black and in Love edition. If your story is less high fantasy and more slice of life, then your Black characters can look more like Iana and Javion. For these characters, I still use my style, but I included more realistic features. I think it's important to experiment with your color palette. With It's What Counts, I wanted to use more pastels, and I wanted my characters to pop out against those backgrounds, just to kind of indicate that it's like really just us two in this world. And just being in love and having young love together. But yeah, I feel like using color to indicate a mood is also a really great thing to do. It's a very powerful tool, and I hope that everyone uses it in that way.
Okay.
Um,
I wanted to ask actually, the way you've
yeah, go ahead.
colored your Black characters here in this more like pastel-y background is kind of
Hmm.
different from the way you normally do in your regular comic.
Yeah.
So like what's the science there? What's my math? What's the inside baseball?
What do you like mean
Like
fully by that?
how are you maintaining the darker skin tone and still using what looks to be like a similar set of like pinkish colors on your character?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I chose a really deep, like reddish color.
Mm.
And I think that might have helped out. Honestly, I wish I was better at like explaining color theory and like, all that jazz. But I just choose colors and if I like it, it sticks,
Yeah. So you choose like deep, but you essentially here you chose deeper colors because you were
Yeah.
using a lighter background, but you
Hmm.
do a little bit of vibes based color choices
Yeah,
because
based off vibes.
yeah, it still is a vibes based thing to an extent for you. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it was a huge help to have the my character's skin tones be on the more reddish scale because it helps kind of um, not blend in, but like keep it at a good color scale together.
Mm.
So keep that in mind if you want your background colors to be like in the orange range, then you should. And I had said that earlier.
Mm.
Make sure that your character's skin tones match the color type that you're doing. Like if it's an orange hue, if it's pink hue, if it's a red hue, make your character's skin tone kind of match that.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm with
Yeah. Another thing that I really wanted to talk about is there was a post on Tumblr that Ami O Ami says Um, or like she gives a great example of how to color your Black characters in a pastel color range. And this is what I was talking about before. It's really great, or if you want to color Blacks, if you don't have like a typical color scheme where it's not like a realistic color tone, and you color in pastel, it's best to lower the saturation of your Black characters and shift the hue.
Okay.
But yeah, she has a great example on Tumblr. I can link it if you want, but yeah, I just really wanted to include this one.
Yeah, it's like
because I thought it was very
it
important.
looks like what she's doing is maintaining this kind of like just finding the darkest color that still matches the
Yeah.
general lightness of that character.
hmm It's very similar to drawing in grayscale, except just in a different color range.
That makes sense. No, I'm with you.
Yeah, that's cool.
My brain is expanding. Okay.
But yeah, I just wanted to leave this off with some great authors on GlobalComix, some comics that you can find on GlobalComix. I found all of their character designs really nice. Hairstyles are beautiful. You can really see that they know how to draw Black people. But yeah.
I appreciate that.
But now that you have your Black character, are they well written?
Yeah, are they well written?
Segue.
Question. Thank you for that segue to our Jess.
Really good segue.
My voice cut out.
We lost her.
That was ominous.
That was so ominous.
I'm so sorry. My voice cuts out sometimes. I couldn't hear you guys.
It's all good. But that was a great segue to Jessie, to our Jessie.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much, Mickey. That was really interesting. And I really appreciate that segue as well. Yeah, so I'm can everybody hear me okay? I know there was some trouble earlier, and I have a pretty quiet voice.
Nah, you should be good, I think.
There should be some. Cool. Okay. All right. So I am pull up my notes here. I am Jessie Page Dawson. I'm the creator of My Superhero and Palisandra. I've been creating comics since 2020. I'm one of the pandemic creators. I'm really excited to be here and speak on some of my experiences and what I've learned in writing Black characters. And so I'm gonna start off with a true story to lead into the topic, all TED Talk style. Yeah. So when I was 10, my family moved to this small town in Oregon, and it was not diverse at all. We were like the only Black people on the street. We were the only non-white people on the street. And one day, these two neighborhood kids who were white, they came and knocked on the door. My mom answered, and the boys, these boys, they were maybe like our age, I think. And they said, we heard that two Black girls live here. Can we see them? To my mom. And in their defense, it was a very small town, and I don't think they'd ever seen a Black person in person before. And my mom, understandably, was kind of surprised by this, by two strange boys coming to the door and asking to see her daughters, like exotic zoo animals. And so she said, they're not Black girls. And this is to say, oh, sorry, one sec. She said, they're not Black girls. And the boys said, well, what are they? And my mom said, they're girls. Now, she didn't mean to like deny our blackness. She wasn't denying that we were Black people. And I realized like she is a white woman. So I do feel like I need to clarify that. She was not denying that we were Black. Instead, she was emphasizing that we were human. So needless to say, we were not introduced to those boys that day. My mom did not introduce us. And but we did eventually meet these boys along with all the other neighborhood kids. And they did find out that we were just regular kids who liked playing Mario and climbing trees. But we didn't match their initial idea they had in their head of what a Black person would be. Like, imagine if you'd never met a Black person before in real life. These kids' image of what we are, how we behave, and how we look was entirely informed by what they saw in movies and music videos and news, and I guess whatever their parents told them, you know. So these are like 10-year-old boys, but they're adults walking around who maybe haven't met a lot of Black people before or even seen a lot of Black people in their everyday lives, whose whole understanding of us is based entirely on popular media representation or tropes. So a trope is a common or overused theme or plot device in literature or art, like a cliche. And even if you're not looking at this definition right now, you all know what a trope is. We're all super familiar with them. We see them everywhere. In horror, you got like the haunted doll trope and like creepy little girl singing, and and the Black character always dies first, right? That trope.
Yeah.
In romance, yeah, and in romance there's a ton, like enemies to lovers, that's right. And the love triangles and that kind of thing. There's a ton. We all know of tropes everywhere. And the same goes for characters. They're everywhere, particularly characters belonging to marginalized groups. So we're going to go over specifically popular Black tropes. I think it's important, since we're talking about how to create well-written Black characters, that we first talk about some of the things that contribute to poorly written Black characters. So we're going to talk about Black character tropes. Before we do, I just want to say I'm pulling most of my examples from film and TV because they're most recognizable to the most people and it's easier to find examples of. But just keep in mind these tropes exist throughout all media, and that extends to comics. Okay, so trope number 1. This trope, if you aren't...
Your audio just kind of... The trope number 1 is what?
Oh, all right. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Trope number 1. It's the most popular of all the Black tropes, probably the one most everyone has heard of. It's the magical Black person trope. Also known as like the POC, magical POC trope. Very, very popular. And it's like so popular, it's been like parodied to death. I think there's like a movie called like the Society of Magical Black People. That's like, I don't know. I think it came out already, but super well known. If you're not familiar, this trope is a Black character who, with their magical ability or wisdom, selflessly devotes themselves to supporting the main character, usually white, in their journey of self-fulfillment. Pure of heart, unflawed, no inner conflicts. They have no character arc. They don't always have actual magical powers. Sometimes they just use their words of wisdom to offer encouragement or give the main character that last push to chase their dreams or come to some eye-opening revelation. We usually don't know much about this character's personal life. They appear to have no romantic partners or sexual interests of any kind. They are completely content to devote themselves to supporting the main character. And this next trope number 2, is very similar. This one is a little less popular nowadays. It's the mammy character. It's one of the oldest Black woman tropes. She's usually a full-bodied, dark-skinned Black woman. She's a domineering matriarch, often sassy, but without being threatening. She's obedient and loyal, and like the magical black person trope, seems to exist solely to build up white lead. She's there to be a shoulder to cry on or to give them that stern pep talk that they needed. And also like the magical black, we're just going to say MVP. MVP. It's way too long. Yeah. Magical black person is now MVP. Yeah. Cool. Everybody got that. Okay. Also like the MVP trope, we don't really get to know this character's personal life. So they seem to have no real purpose outside of serving and uplifting the white lead. Traditionally, this character took the form of a literal maid or servant in the earliest depictions of this trope. And it's become more clear now, as it's become more clear how belittling this trope is, it's not as common anymore, at least not in this obvious form. Today, you see traces of the Mammy character in the black best friend trope, which is trope number 3. So this character is pretty self-explanatory. They're usually the friend or sidekick to the white protagonist, sometimes characterized as the sassy black friend. They can be comedic relief or fill that Mammy role and offer support and tough love. The black friend also helps give the appearance of diversity in stories with otherwise predominantly white characters. Unlike the other tropes, this character can sometimes have a little bit more agency. We do get to know them a bit more. They may get like a love interest or a side plot, but their purpose and motivations are always background to those of the white main character. A commonality with these 3 tropes, the black friend, the Mammy, and the the MVP, sometimes something that they all share, along with all being characters without much depth, all help promote this idea of people content to be background or supporting characters of someone else's story, instead of the heroes of their own stories. And next slide. So here are some more black character tropes that, for the sake of time, I'm not going to dive into deeply here, but I still wanted to include them because they're still popular tropes in media that are overdone to this day. Some of these are not great for pretty obvious reasons. They may depict Black people in dehumanizing ways, objectifying our bodies, painting us as scary aggressors, or just not very nice people. Some may be well-meaning, like the strong, athletic Black man, or even the MVP trope. But for all of these tropes, there's an undeniable lack of depth in these characters, a lack of humanity, which can feed to stereotypes and affect real world perceptions of Black people. This talk is specifically about Black people, but tropes are for marginalized groups of people for all marginalized groups of people run a similar risk. And as storytellers, we have a power to shift perceptions. Okay, so I've been speaking pretty negatively about tropes, but surprisingly, I don't actually want to dissuade you from using them. And I don't think I could anyway. As mentioned in the beginning, tropes exist everywhere in our stories. Every genre, every group, people use them everywhere. Many people seek out specific tropes when looking for content. So are tropes bad?
Is one of those isekai into a video game? Sorry.
Oh my God.
I didn't see the slide until just now.
Wait, there are so many. There's so many isekai into a video game tropes. So many. But yeah, there's tropes everywhere. And people use them all the time. So are they bad? In short, no. Or no, in short, it depends. You're not a bad person if you have character tropes in your story. It really depends on how you use it. On its own, a trope can be, at best, a hollow and repetitive and forgettable character. But at worst, it can be dehumanizing. But when you use tropes as a starting point and then add more nuance to create a more fleshed out story or character, then you have something much more interesting and memorable. I want to show you guys a character who started out as one of the worst tropes.
It's our boy.
It's our boy. This is Omar. This is Omar Little from HBO's The Wire. So on the surface, this character comes across as fitting the black trope of thug. He commits armed robbery. That's how he makes his living. That's how he gets his money. He has a very threatening appearance. He walks around with this big trench coat and a shotgun hanging on his hip. He has this long scar that like runs prominently and diagonally across his face. And when he walks up on a scene, he whistles this like nursery rhyme song. I had to look it up because it's so familiar, but I just couldn't remember what it was. It was The Farmer and the Den, I think.
It's terrifying.
It's very terrifying. He whistles that song as he comes up, and people hear it and know he's coming, and they hide. They just scatter. So very, very threatening. And also, he murders people. He murders them. So in all, like, he comes across as just this black trope. And if your protagonist is a cop, you're going to think, okay, well, the cop needs to take this guy down. He's clearly just a thug. Not super endearing or interesting. Okay. But as we learn more about him, the story goes on, we get some added depth. We learn, okay, he doesn't like swearing. He doesn't swear. It's kind of random. He's a gangster, but he kills people and he robs people, but he doesn't swear. All right. Also, he doesn't do business on Sundays, and he doesn't respect people who do either. And we add a little more depth. The story goes on. We learn, also he's an outsider. He's unaffiliated with any of the main gangs. Story. He doesn't affiliate with the drug dealers. Also, we meet his boyfriend. He is openly gay in a very loving relationship while maintaining fear and respect in a hyper masculine profession.
And in the 90s.
Also, whoa, yeah, it's the 90s. He's doing it in the 90s. This is the 90s. Let me remind you. So, yeah, and he's and people don't really say anything if it bothers them. If they did, he would murder them probably. You know, nobody's going to say anything, or at least that's what the audience thinks. And we learn a little bit more about him. Sorry, my fade in animation is weird. I didn't know it was going to do that. It's not smooth. Okay, so we get even more depth. We learn that he holds himself to a strict moral code. Very strict moral code. He holds his principles above everything. He never threatens or kills citizens or taxpayers, as he calls them. He's very careful. He doesn't even point guns at them. And he's actually apparently Robin Hood. He robs. We just mentioned earlier that he's not affiliated with any gangs, any of the drug dealing gangs. He only robs them. It turns out he doesn't rob civilians, innocent people. He only robs drug dealers, and he gives back to the community. And he also tries to avoid killing. It's not something he wants to do. He avoids it when he can. So by the end of the show, we have this very layered character, and you don't even think of him as a gangster anymore. You just think of him as Omar, even though he started out as one of the worst black character tropes, or at least seeming that way. As more nuance and care is given to this character, you can't unsee his humanity, and he turns out to be one of the most endearing and memorable characters in the show. When I was putting this slide together, me and Nen were talking about what character to use here. We were trying to think, and we just kept listing off characters from The Wire. Like it was just all.
Here, just watch The Wire. If I'm being super honest with you.
Honestly, that's the conclusion. Just watch The Wire. So yeah, I do recommend it. There are meth addicts, there are drug dealers, there are murderers, there are cops, politicians, and all of them are written with the same care and humanity. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend the show to anyone, not just people who want to learn how to write Black characters if they feel uncomfortable writing Black characters, but to anyone wanting to write characters, something that the writers of the show do that's really rare, and I really haven't seen it done as well since or before, is they don't write Black characters, they don't write drug dealers, they write people first. They write humans. Okay. So, question. How do you write Black characters? I've shown you some things to avoid, why you want to avoid them. I've shown you one route you can take when writing Black characters, using a trope and then building away from that trope. For a number of reasons, there aren't a lot of Black characters in comics. There's so few that we're giving a presentation teaching people how to draw and write them. So there aren't many people who are doing it, it seems. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Mostly, I think people are generally uncomfortable with the unknown, and they may shy away from trying to write characters with lived experiences they perceive as too different or far from their own. Then they see Black men and women. When they see Black men and women, they don't see a sister or a brother or a grandma or a mom. That's probably why it's easy then to just reach for tropes. So I would say, if you're still struggling with writing your Black character, you're overwhelmed by all the tropes and stereotypes in movies and shows and media and all, and it's hard for you to imagine a relatable whole character with depth. To you, I would say, instead of first thinking of writing a Black person, start first with writing a human. Yeah. Also, go out and meet some Black people. Just come talk to us. There's no excuse. I promise we're nice. All right. In closing, here are some comics featuring well-written Black people and humans that I would definitely recommend. And you can find them all on globalcomics.com. And thank you guys for watching.
Okay. These are all really good. I think we talked about picking Jonesy for like a really long time.
Yeah, irrationally long time.
Irrationally long. I think we talked, during the entire making of this, we talked about three things. We talked about Soul Eater. We talked about
The Wire. We talked about Omar from The Wire.
Yeah. Poor Mickey and I talked about Soul Eater for way too long.
Yeah. Soul Eater is my favorite anime.
Is it?
Like yeah.
Check it out.
You won't like it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's not made
It probably won't.
Yeah.
But it was like my first like anime that like had Black people in it, and it was just like, whoa, like this is so cool, like you know. So
yeah. I get it. And I think it's really good. You guys brought up some great examples today. I really like them, especially the example comics. I think for everyone who wants to see the slides, especially to see Mickey's art, and that way they can watch Mickey's process, which would be very helpful. The slide will be linked in the pinned comment, which I'll put in after the stream. And if you want to just read the rest of it, the slides will all be there, so you can just have fun going through them. Thank you to everyone for showing up today. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And thank you to Jess, JPD, for your wonderful time. I appreciate it so much. I know this took us a long time to put together, and I know you guys put so much work into it. So I just really want to make sure people know that, you know, you guys did a great job. Gotta praise you in public.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any questions before we go? Does anyone want to ask about certain things, or anyone have any resources they want to know about? If not, I think we'll be fine. Let me just wait a few seconds.
Cool.
They have not prepared. Mickey, you said you got all of your hair and assets and stuff from the Clip Studio asset store, right?
Well, okay. So you can get assets like that. I don't typically use them because I like drawing hair. So I don't really use them, but if you are, having a time crunch, or something similar, those are the best option for you.
Super cool. So basically, you're too powerful for the assets, but that makes sense. Okay.
I definitely will use them probably so at some point in my life. I just really enjoy drawing hair. Like it's like almost therapeutic to draw like black hair.
Super valid. Okay, I think they're all good. So I think we are free to go. Thank you so much.
Sweet.
Goodbye.